because it is premium tobacco.
Premium?
I don't know.
Okay, so what's the difference between premium and non-premium tobacco?
Costs more.
And that, sir, is an honest answer.
Yeah. Dude, they have different leaves, different age leaves. They have different regions. They come from different cares.
This comes from the region.
Some are small batch, some are
my
not.
back 40.
Speaking of my back 40, dude, I mean, it is almost time when I'll have to engage in yard cleanup. It's there. I am there, dude.
What are you going to do? You just mulch all your leaves up on the mower and stuff?
Well, I have to mulch the leaves up, and then I'll take the leaf vac and get the rest of it up.
I'm not going to lie. I did buy some accoutrement for my John Deere mower for this year. I got a bagger, one of those side baggers that hits on there, and you blow all of your leaves in there. So when I do my first mow, I can get it all out of there. It's not something that you use every time, but it's something that you use when you're doing that first mow and you're wanting to mulch the leaves. Bought it used. Got it for like a couple $100. Wasn't
nice.
Bad. I don't buy anything new.
Nice.
Tackle people, kick them in the shins.
So this is for our audience as well. We're debating on AI for social media interactions, by the way, just being honest. We don't really have, because we don't really do social media right now.
Yeah, it don't.
At all. And so the plan for me is to actually put something out there that is automated in a way. I don't want to say it's fully automated, but so it'd be like an approval process where like something comes in and AI says, I want to post this, and we can go to a portal and say yes, right?
Yeah.
So just FYI, I kind of want to be transparent about that. I don't want anybody thinking that, not that we won't see that stuff, but I do want to make that clear that I'm working on it.
Some things that we may show, are chosen. Reggie is slowly but surely convincing me to use AI. I've actually started using it to construct my emails, things like that, because it does a fantastic job. Hey, Claude, respond to the text of this email in a empathetic yet non-committal way, and Claude will print me out something very fantastic, and then I use that instead of sitting in.
That's how I converse with you all the time. I say, I don't want to talk to Brian. Talk to him for me. And he does that.
So it's Claude talking to me?
Yeah. I never talk to you, dude.
That makes me a little sad.
That's actually not true.
Although
it's doing a pretty good job, isn't it?
Actually, it does, because Claude texts just like you do.
That'd be funny.
Claude.
Open Reggie.
Yeah. Open Reggie AI. There you go, dude. There you go. Open Reggie AI.
It'll tell you what it thinks at all times.
It'll be as blunt as humanly possible. And it's not human.
No filter.
It's just I think AI is the inevitable. I just think that there's no way around it.
But here's the thing. I think it was Apple came out with this. I think I saw it from Apple. They were doing research, and like the more complex, the more complicated the problems they were giving AI, the dumber AI got. Like it just flat out would just took less time and would just give up and say, and it would just hallucinate the answer.
Well,
right?
And problem being, look, the more I do use AI, the more I learn that AI is it's a different engine. It's only it doesn't have an ability to critically think.
No, it does not think.
It basically lives off the information you put into it.
It does not think. I need to really make this point very clear to anybody watching this it does not think. It is not a thinking thing. It's a pattern recognition to the nth degree. It goes through. Now it'll go read things and like digest information, which it does really well. It analyzes stuff, but it's really basing its decisions and stuff on pattern recognition, not on actual thought.
So if you give it something critically that takes critical thinking, you're probably not going to get anything that makes any sense.
That's why you have to direct it so much. I mean, that's really
like what I've learned about using Claude is that you have to give it everything you want it to have. Like I can't go make it up, Claude, because I will get like,
but Brian,
fart noises and Chex Mix cereal.
That's true. But now, would your Faustian bargain actually get you somewhere with anything?
No. Oh, look at that. That's a segue right there. That's a segue.
Faustian bargain.
Faustian bargain.
Heinrich
No, it would not.
Faust.
Yes. Mr. Heinrich Faust.
Dude, I love the German. Like, yeah, I know a lot. I mean, granted, there's history here, but like, it's like a lot of.
They sound like they just got over a terrible cold every time they say a word, but it's awesome. Yes, the Faustian bargain. This one kind of hit home for me as I was kind of reading and researching for stuff this week. Is, we've covered a lot about, masculinity and the fact that it's been under attack, but what we really haven't talked about is the underlying problem, and that is that men are trading their masculinity they're making that Faustian bargain, Faust, and trading their masculinity away. But the problem is, if you go back and you look at the books, Faust traded it for knowledge and power. Well, these guys aren't trading it for either. They're trading it for acceptance and the relinquishment of anything morally centered. But first we probably should get people familiarized with what the Faustian bargain is. Faust.
Yeah. So I mean, everybody. It's kind of I don't know. It's kind of common, right?
Yeah, somewhat. I mean, I've heard more than one person use the word Faustian bargain or Faust.
But it comes down to just you're making a deal with the devil or something, right? Yeah. And I mean now Mephisto, what was his full name? Mephistopheles.
Yeah, Mephistopheles. Yes.
Mephistopheles, but it's Mephisto. I think is the short term they use. Yeah. I can't remember. Anyway, but that's like the character, the antagonist.
Yes.
In the Faust stories.
Now there's the source of evil.
There's two different like it's kind of silly to say two different original versions, but where people get this from is the Dr. Faustus. Mm-hmm. That was in 1592, and then there's the Goth herders.
Goat herders.
Yeah. Goths. I'm sorry so much if you're related and that's your relative. Sorry. But that was a two-parter. That was a drama.
Yeah.
And that was in 1808. And that's really more where we're coming from here as far as the Faustian bargain goes. Now, so Heinrich Faust was the protagonist in the drama, and he's the one who was, and he's portrayed as a smart, intelligent, he's not deficient. In other words, he's really a upstart citizen, a man, he's not like, he's not presented as having like a bunch of problems and all this kind of crap where he's going to get through.
He's just presented more as like the almost puritanical in a way, just because he was, well respected, well liked,
and I mean, so he's just looking for the meaning of life, kind of stuff, and he's just trying to figure that out. So he makes a deal with Mephistopheles to get this knowledge and power and pleasures and all that kind of stuff in order for him to like solve these mysteries of life, kind of thing. And he ends up not getting that at all. And just to tell you the end of the story, he figures out that he was wrong and that that it's not all about that, and ends up actually going to heaven, which is an interesting twist.
Well, and a nice biblical cross-reference against that would be Solomon. King Solomon was into everything, tried everything, every kind of sin, and in the end realized all of it was ill in comparison.
Yeah, Solomon starts out like, what's really like? This is the wisest man who's supposed to ever lived.
Yes,
ever live, not just ever lived, but ever will live too. And so if that's really the case, it's even the smartest one of us is is still an idiot, I guess, is at the end of the day.
Still fallible.
But Solomon, started off on the right path, and his wisdom and stuff led him to God and all that. And then he just went wacko and got in his own ego and everything else. So anyway, so Faust is who we're talking about. And that's, the bargain here is really with some terms that have been thrown around in recent decades for men, like the beta males,
sigma,
alpha, all kinds of that kind of thing, who make a trade-off for kind of where we would say is the true masculinity traits and stuff, and they trade that off for the idealism and collectivism of Marxist modern liberal thought. Yeah.
And there's this, I think if you look through the story of Faust, the thing about it is you really believe that you're not selling anything, you're buying something, but in the end you've just given away all of your power and you have nothing in return. And I think the thing I want to drive home in all this at the end of whatever we talk about today is that there is an edge, a ledge that you can go off of where you can't come back. Now, you might be able to spiritually reconcile, but you can damage your reputation and your existence enough in the world you live in where you will never recover from it.
I just want to say this, though, like as long as you're breathing air, there's a chance.
Yeah.
Now, as long as you are conscious, breathing air, human being biologically on this earth, you have an opportunity.
And what I'm talking about in consequence is, I would use a person like Chloe Cole as an example. Indoctrinated into transgenderism, surgeries at a very young age. She's going to live the rest of her life, even after she's realized she was wrong and is trying to make it right, with permanent consequences from what she did.
Who's steering away from suicidal empathy. I mean, that's what she did.
That's exactly what she did. Is she corrected the spin and then got back in line. But now, because of all of the indoctrination and the sacrifices that she made by being brainwashed into believing that was who she was, she now will spend the rest of her days dealing with the damage that was caused physically and mentally and emotionally from it. So that's what I mean by sometimes there's a ledge, right, where you can step off a certain part and the damage is permanent.
Now, I want to say this before I move on to this topic. Every doctor and organization who participated in any of these surgeries should be actually fined or something or jailed.
No, I don't think they should be allowed to practice medicine anymore.
Whatever. Everybody. This is not anything new. The consequences of these type of things was known. Side effects were known. All these things were known. It's not like this is new information or anything else. This was all known, and they did it anyway.
Yeah.
So, and they did it anyway because, like we talked about, suicidal empathy and just being money mongering. It really gets under my skin, man. When you have these so-called experts who are supposed to take care of your health, which is something that we value a great deal.
Yes.
And here these trusted healthcare providers have just completely, and it goes all the way to insurance companies, organizations, and research and science and practitioners and surgeons, all of them.
And why? Because they made the Faustian bargain.
So we've talked about the institutional capture by the ideological left and why and who funded it and how that and the science takeover and tech and corporations. We've explicitly called out who funded it, who actually said plainly that they did and why. We talked about the idiots with the masks and their black bloc stupid stuff and Antifa and the gamer tags that lead to anonymity and institutional DEI. Talk about all this. And a part of this discussion is around these Greek alphabet characters that get labeled towards men
Yeah.
in another attempt to capture masculine identity itself.
Okay, so let me make this clear. Let's talk about who we're talking to, right? We're not calling anybody weak. It's not the purpose of this conversation. We're speaking to men who grew up in and around faith and have a capacity for conviction and maybe decided somewhere along the way or they lost sight of what they were doing and wanted to belong and traded that away. We're also speaking to the guys standing on the sidelines watching it happen. One of the things you're going to learn about me is if you ever get a chance to know me is if I see garbage, I call it garbage. Like I'm not the, oh, well, no, that's stupid and we shouldn't be doing that. That's where I'm at. But we need to talk about the brothers and the fathers and the pastors and the elders and all these people that are standing by silently while this bargain is being made and not putting a spotlight on it. Because let me tell you something, the devil runs from light. He does not want to be in the spotlight. He wants to be pulling the strings behind the curtains, right? I said this a long time ago when we first started this. If you're looking for the devil in viper-gated horns and a tail and a pitchfork, you're not looking. That's not the devil. That's a old age Roman Catholic caricature that was used to scare people back during the Inquisition into this devil demon thing that was going to come and get you. That's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is the guy sitting across the table from you who is speaking clearly, cleanly, plainly, and educatedly, and saying everything that's wrong, but speaks so convincingly that those who haven't taken a stand fall for it. We need to make clear that there is no such thing as alpha, sigma, or beta. Those are just labels. Those are excuses that we've given people. It's like a name tag. Hi, I'm a beta male.
Okay.
Right?
So, but we need to clarify and define those.
Yes. Let's do that.
Because, and this is what I mean, instead of just being a child of God, made in the image of God, made to worship God, we are then put as all kinds of different labels. Like we are bombarded by things that challenge our identity each and every day, and including this whole with the masculine archetypes of alpha, beta, sigma, and especially this dude. Okay, wait, before we really I got to tell you, this sigma one is just the one that I just completely have it is so stupid, but we'll get into that.
Okay.
Brian, beta male, what is actually our culture define a beta male is, and it's different than the animal hierarchy is concerned.
Feminine or feminist, in touch with his feelings, will cry with you, will, empathize, and I don't like to be strong. I just want to be a globulous kind of, I call them Play-Doh males.
They avoid conflict.
They avoid conflict. They kind of conform to whatever
they need external validation.
They constantly need their feelings, their ego stroked. I got called in a conversation once egotistical because I was too unopen to accept concepts that weren't mine. That doesn't have anything to do with my ego. That has to do with whether you're telling me the truth or not. That's nothing to do with ego. Beta males need to be, they don't want to be leaders. They want to, and one of the things I don't like about beta males, and I'll be honest with you, or what we call a beta male, is their inability they're very, very quick to tell you about their truth, about your truth. They've bought into this, just in the entirety of this ideological capture of feelings versus facts and all those things. I call them Play-Doh males because they will conform to anything around them in order to not be ostracized, regardless of what they have to sacrifice.
In contrast, that's what society is taking that term and manipulated it and thrown into masculine circles, right?
Yes.
But in contrast to the animal kingdom, the beta is not a bad thing.
No.
And we've turned all these things into a slur, by the way. But in the animal kingdom, the beta is just the one it hunts for the pack. It's it still protects the pack. It still does these things. It's just not. It's subordinate to the alpha, who is the dominant leader of that pack, right?
The lion, for example, would be the alpha. The lioness would be the beta, in the sense that the lioness does the hunting. The lioness helps protect the pack. But when danger comes, it's the lion that meets the danger where it's at.
This
right?
gets so twisted sometimes, and it comes mostly from leftist nonsense. But if you look, you can watch like any of the lion documentaries, but like the real danger that these the prides and stuff that come into are other male lions who are looking too. Yeah. So you have the greatest danger, and that's what the male lions pretty much do, is they just fight other male lions.
Yeah. For predominance in the pack, for the pride, right?
Well, but like in threats, because it's all the time trying to consume more territory and everything else. It's very much a territorial, the strongest will survive kind of thing. And so these male lions are basically, you see them. There's very rare when you see like a male alpha lion who is not scarred up. Pretty
not been through many battles.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. So that gets misconstrued a lot, where because I've heard this before, when especially the feminists and the male feminists of all things, which is like the most ridiculous,
this is the creepiest thing on the planet.
Yeah, who like throw out but the females actually do all the work, and the males just sit there and all they do. But that's really not the case at all. Like, they're the ones who are scarred up like the most out of usually the freaking pack about all this stuff, because that's what they've done, is they've been in battles.
Yeah, they've been in wars.
So anyway, I just find that absolutely abhorrent. All right, the Sigma. This is the one that gets under my crawl a little bit, Brian.
This is the dumbest one.
Yeah, what is the Sigma male, Brian?
Well,
according to our culture,
independent, self-reliant, exists outside of alpha-beta hierarchy, which I'm not really sure how that works. Introspective, unconventional, oriented towards autonomy rather than leadership of others, regarded in the manosphere as rare, alpha-level capability without the dominant structure. It sounds to me like a really, really inventive way to dress up a beta male.
Well, what it's trying to do is put a stronger stance on a beta male.
Well, and let's be clear. The Sigma male is new. This is an internet concept that was brought about in the early 2000s, 2010s maybe.
I don't know.
The lone wolf. All right, so look, I can make up characters too. I want to own a beaver corn. It's a crossbreeding of a beaver and a unicorn. All the sensitivity of a unicorn with the building ability of a beaver. That doesn't mean it's true.
So here's how I look at it. Like, we've talked about stoicism.
Yes.
Right, and how that's kind of that's a good thing. To be stoic is not a bad thing.
Yeah. And I would rather be considered a stoic above any of these Greek titles that are given out.
So for me, when I think about stoicism, I think that goes into, somebody tried to put that into a leftist ideology and said, "Oh, that might be a stigma."
Stigma male. Stigma male.
No. So anyway, here's the thing. It's completely made up, and it doesn't make any sense. So you have alpha level capability. This is what they say. It's capable of being an alpha, but it doesn't seek its own leadership. It seeks its autonomy. It's all in itself. It's very independent. Kind of thing. That's really not what you want in a society, by the way, and that's not really a strong characteristic to have. You need a sense of community and a sense of like not just being an individual, but being an individual contributor into a society, right?
Yeah.
And that's where you have this be just a complete weird thing. And what happens is these quote unquote Sigma males, which are supposed to be rare, end up just being along for the ride in a collectivism mindset anyway.
All right. So let me make this clear for all of you Sigma males out there.
Hey, Sigma, guess what?
Sigma.
I'm going to use your term.
Okay.
Ready? Hot garbage.
Being detached and unaccountable doesn't make you a man, and it doesn't make you masculine. It doesn't even exist in a masculine sense for real men of masculinity. You don't if you drift, it's not independence, it's restlessness, and it's a lack of accountability, right? Like look, all of these labels, all of these things that we created, you know, and I'm the first one to tell you that I don't believe in the label of an alpha male either. Look, you're either a man or you're not. And you either believe in the accountability and responsibilities of being a man or you don't. You don't get to change the definition. Again, this leftist concept of changing word definition in order to make it fit whatever ridiculous fantasy you have in your head. You know, there's a deeper point of all this, and that's that there's a foundational erosion of reality that is being pushed by our center left, moderate left, and far left. And that's, you know, I'll give you an example. They hold Gavin Newsom up as a masculine male. He is the most spineless human being I've ever seen. Lies without measure. Whoever he's talking to at this point, whoever he's talking to, he morphs into that person. If you want a great example, look at his podcast, mind you, when he had Charlie Kirk or Ben Shapiro on, and then look at his podcast when he had other leftists on. This is the perfect example of a amorphous, lack of masculinity, weak man.
It's like when a dude says they're bisexual,
Yeah.
they're just gay.
Yeah. Yeah. That's an excuse, right? It's not.
Look, I'm sorry, but that's not.
It's not. It's
I'm
not.
not
It's not
sorry,
a knock.
actually.
It's not a knock. It's just a fact, right?
I mean, you know, if you're, no, it makes
if you
no
sleep
sense.
with dudes, you're gay.
But anyway, so there's, yeah, dude.
Sorry.
I know we could, I've said it more graphically before, but I won't say it here.
No.
So like the thing is, there's all these stupid words like gamma and omegas and all this nonsense. It's just, look, end of the day, it's nonsense. But I really want to talk about the alpha real quick.
Okay.
So we've said how beta gets twisted, and it's actually not a bad thing in reality if it's supposed to work the way it's supposed to work, and that most of us have to serve a beta role anyway. In that none of us, especially from our worldview, are the alpha in our situation. Alpha is Jesus Christ in that situation. That we are faithful. We try to be faithful servants to Christ, right? But I get tired of being called an alpha male.
I get tired of it because I'm not an alpha male. Stop reducing the existence of who I am in God's design to animalistic behavior. That really bothers me, right? Like if you're going to take the fact that I have faith in a loving God who saved me and has given me an opportunity to go out and help save others. I don't save anybody, but I will talk and plant seeds. If you're going to take my God and reduce him to the one holding the leash, so to speak, I got time for that.
I know, but I mean, it's just like, so because I have principles, because I like stand for something, because I like seek to have I have like real conviction towards things, discernment and everything. That is you have to label that. Wouldn't that just be, a good man? Let me try this out. Man.
Well, think about this, Reggie. Think about history. Take a look at history across the board. Like my across the board thing? Across the board. Every great man in the last 500 years stood for something. Now, they might have stood for the wrong thing. You know, Hitler stood for murdering people and has probably got like a front row seat with gold handles in hell. But they stood for something. Men who accomplished things stood for something, right? And the thing that worries me about this the most is we want to steal accountability so we can point the finger at others where we fail. Does that make sense? That's what beta and sigma and alpha are, right? Well, you're giving men an excuse to go, I can't be like that, so I can't accomplish anything. And let's be clear, I'm not anti. You and I both have met men that have a more feminine quality about them. Doesn't mean they're not men. They still get married. They still take care of their families. They still protect. They still serve their church. They just may not be like burly man. Right?
Well,
like,
I mean, yes, but this is okay. The same type of attack into our institutions and our corporations and our science and everything else is being done with masculine identity.
It is.
So, and that's really the tie-in here to what we've talked about before. Is really that, you know, we take God's calling and His identification of what man should be and who we are in reality, and we, instead of saying, you know, what is God? What is my God calling? What is God calling me to do? What is that? We're saying, what category do I fit in? Yeah. Alpha? Am I beta? Am I this? And that's my problem. It's like, you know. That's not the question.
Yeah, it should never be the question.
That's not the question. Like, I mean, look, there are leaders and there are followers, and there are both. But that doesn't mean you're some stupid made up leftist subcategory from a Greek alphabet, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, we let's see, what episode was that? 122, 123. I don't know. I remember. It's the you know, made in His image thing.
Yeah, sure.
That's it. It's not a beta. It's not a sigma. Not an alpha thing. It's we're God image bearers, bro.
You know, I mean,
preach.
The wrestling isn't against men who accept these labels. The wrestling is against the principalities that push falsehoods
and drop
things, right? You know, men think, you know, but okay. So Reggie and I had breakfast this morning, and I gave Reggie a theory, and this is a lot of the reason why I think, you know, history will mirror, right? And I talked about how some of the greatest cultures in our history, they had the hierarchy of men. You had the king, the warrior, the priest, and the politician, and then you had the citizen. And then all of a sudden, in those great societies, and I like to use Alexander the Great as one of these examples because he didn't just lose the society to it, he became part of the reason the society was lost, right? So all of a sudden you had this large swath of your society that decided they were going to create their own ideology, and then began to interfere through politics, through the priesthood, through those things, which eroded the society until it collapsed. And this is what I try to talk to people about is we are wrestling against principalities of evil and principalities of doubt and loss, whispering in our ear that we need to be more sensitive. We need to be more this. We need to be more that. No, what we need to do is take the gifts that God gave us as men, the powers that God gave us as men, and we need to accentuate those and find our place in the community where that works best, right? Are you a farmer? Are you great at growing things? Are you great at making food? Are you great at building? Are you great at educating? Are you great at those things? We're paying attention to all the wrong things. Are you sensitive? Who cares? do you contribute within your community in a way where they can look at you and go, regardless of what hyper level of masculinity you reach or don't reach, are you accentuating the gifts that you have that God has given you and using them to better your community? But right now what we're fighting for is, well, we're fighting in reverse. We're fighting for how can you hide your gifts, not use them, and be least accountable so that nobody holds you to a standard. And you look at that, it's very telling in especially our education system has done an amazing job at eroding that. But now what you're seeing on a very high level is when you look at our government, it's happening within our government. It's happening with these politicians who all they want to talk about is race. Like, can we just be dudes and chicks and hang out? I don't care what color you are. I don't care what you do. I don't care your background, your ethnicity. As long as you're not violating my boundaries and trying to bring evil within my circle, we're going to get along just fine.
Or penalizing someone for being whatever.
Yeah. So,
But look, the current administration is less bound around this type of ideology.
Yes, they are less.
That is true. But have we really seen this dramatic scope of change flowing through everything? And I mean, some, but Doge was a failure, all that kind of stuff. So I mean, Hegspeth has been a great job of straightening out the military.
Yes,
some of that stuff. I mean, so there's stuff that does happen now when you have a different perspective in play. But yeah, that's not here or there though, really. I mean, that's just part of it. I mean, I want to get back to this, like we said, these men are real. Like being you said effeminate, but like even those the men who are out there who just are agreeable,
yeah, or
who just but they don't like conflict, and they want to belong and stuff, and that's okay.
Yeah, and let's be clear, not every man is built for conflict.
No, and I mean no. I'll tell you right now, it's not like I enjoy conflict.
I have no problem with it.
Yeah, exactly.
But I also have no problem with peace.
Yeah, like I don't seek conflict for conflict's sake. It's not like that. I like to debate. I like to do that. I like to have that kind of thing. But at the end of the day, like it's still like there's a thing here.
Yeah.
That says there's a sense of danger when it comes to some of that stuff, yeah. Right?
Well, but also we are men who have a heart for God.
Yeah.
Right.
There's independent dudes out there. I know quite a few.
Yeah,
quite a few guys who just like want to be. They don't care. They just want to be left alone. They are solid. They are solitary creatures. They don't. But there is. I say all that in the scope of that only describes a little bit, because there is still a sense of brotherhood that still remains a core to pretty much any man I've ever met.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's like these different types of men exist, and that's fine, but it just needs to be reformatted and pulled back into the anchor of Scripture and the biblical idea of what this all is. It doesn't matter what your quote unquote archetype is. It really just all pulls back to, what's God got in store for you? What does He want you to do? What is your calling? And it's not your calling. It's not your neighbor's calling. It's what's God's actually calling you to do.
Yeah.
And who to be. And that's not up to some Greek alphabet.
No. And you have to be careful, because, an agreeable man without a biblical anchor gets absorbed into the community that'll accept him. And that involves sacrificing what he may be or what he may have been called for Christ. The independent man without a biblical anchor drifts into whatever ideology will tell him that his mental acuity is superior. And that is where you get, and I will tell you that is where you get a lot of that second example is where you get a lot of the nonsensical arguments that get put up when talking about what masculinity really is. It also is very it's part of the reasons why we have the, nobody can describe what a woman is, and nobody can do this, and nobody can really definitionally argue their position, because they don't want to risk their mental superiority, their intellectual superiority being challenged. Both roads without a biblical foundation to a man shaped by culture rather than shaping it. That bargain starts with accepting the label. It ends with losing it all. Because let's be clear, we can see right now, societally wise, we're moving away from some of the insanity, right? Some of the crazy is going away.
Yes.
Well, a lot of these people are hanging on like a hair in a biscuit, man. They're trying their hardest and the reason that they're doing that is they see the ledge, and they have done nothing to prepare themselves for the changing stage of life. So the way they see it is the end to their ideology is the end to their existence. And what you've got to realize is it's called an ideology for a reason. It's not called a fact. Ideologies change. We've been proven the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, the Libertarian Party all have morphed through the years, changing where they are. They're not ideologies, right? Because they continue through the change. What you're seeing right now is there's a large swath of men who gave all their power away for whatever ideology was hyper important at that point. And the edge is coming close, and they don't know if they can survive it or not. Yeah.
I mean, and this is where we get into the actual terms of what we're calling this Faustian bargain is, right? Yeah. I mean, because the labels and stuff get you in the door.
Yeah.
That's kind of what this is about, but it doesn't happen like immediate. There's definitely like it comes in like a stage,
Yeah.
And I mean, this is I want to make this point. Like, just because you're a loony leftist does not mean you're a coward necessarily, but it does mean that
it does mean that you're fearful.
Yeah, I mean, it means like you've been, something's failed you along the way.
Yeah,
and you've chosen a path that is not the same type of hurt, right?
Yeah, you don't risk the same type of pain.
Yeah, and I mean, there has been like, I think we all know the old school father figures of beating their kids and all that kind of stuff. And there's been, even our peer group, dude, we've got a lot of people who were kind of handed, some raw deal with their old man.
Yeah.
Hard dudes. And I mean, that was, look, you have to understand too, those men were brought up in a whole different scenario.
Yeah.
And usually those men were, just trying to scrape by or whatever. And I'm not saying there's excuses for it, but I mean, there's definitely reasons that you have these things that happen. Right. Mm-hmm. And so there's a lot of hurt, and there's a lot of like fear of being that or being this or whatever. And I think that's just the first part of the door, right? That you open the door, you get through there, and that's really where it comes into.
Yeah. And here's the thing. I don't want to dismiss anybody's experiences. I really am tired of the word trauma, honestly, because I feel like it's become one of those buzzwords that we use to excuse things,
Yeah, I mean, I think what we took too long to understand it. Like, there's everybody has trauma.
Everybody's gone through something bad, right? But yeah, like, I don't want to dismiss anyone's experiences, but the men I respect the most are the ones that grew and found the right way despite that experience.
Yeah.
I can speak firsthand of having terrible experiences coming up and growing up and from family members and things like that. But I'm not going to let that mold how I treat people, what I do, and how I think today. Those things are definitely components of my personality. They've taught me things. They've taught me different ways of handling things, but I'm not going to I was in a car accident a year ago. It doesn't mean I won't ever get in a car again, right? Like it just isn't the function and the form of it is growth, but we've turned wisdom and experience into DDT in a way, because we say, oh, well, because I experienced this thing and because I had this experience, I'm not going to find a way to grow from it. I'm going to find a way to let it kill what's left of me so that I can go find something else.
Yeah.
And that's just the wrong way of thinking about it altogether.
Yeah. So I think, we have to go back and say, like, where does this bargain start from, right? And it starts from a point where, you think you're escaping one, toxic, whatever you want to say, thing, and being pulled into a much better one for the sake of, like in the Faust example, he's getting wisdom and knowledge and power, right?
Yeah.
But, so it's not like they're wrong for trying to escape a bad version of masculinity.
Yeah.
But they're escaping it into another wrong version.
Yeah. They're trading it for a comfortable wrong, not an uncomfortable wrong.
Yeah. It's just being replaced with just a different wrong.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, we got to be honest about that a little bit, because I mean, speaking from the church itself, like we got to be honest.
Yeah,
we do. Because churches have wronged men, and wronged people,
and there are many churches that are complicit in the diminishing of masculinity.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about that.
Jump on there and go to Instagram, start looking at the church reels and listening to what some of these people say about masculinity, who are supposedly preachers and leaders of the men in the church. And I honestly, I'm shocked a lot of times. So,
but it is interesting though that the left leaning cultural spaces kind of replicate the church.
Yeah, they do.
Right? I mean, like they have a moral framework.
Mm-hmm.
There's they offer to have be in community, a language that is shared, and even rituals of like virtue signaling.
Yeah, well, they're also exclusionary, like a lot of places.
Right.
There are a lot of churches that are very exclusionary
because it fills the same humanistic needs. Like it's doing that. It's not an accident. I mean, this is purposeful, right? So for like that agreeable guy, he'll find his community. He'll find his affirmation and his external validation.
Yeah.
And for that independent one, like you said, they get their ego stroked.
Yeah.
Well,
and that's something too that and I'm going to admit that I don't speak from experience in this situation, because I will be 100% honest with you. I don't care. I don't need external validation at all. Like I have the people in my life that I care about, my friends and my family, very small group of people. If you don't know me and you choose not to like me, it could not matter to me less of, it just, and it's something that maybe we talk about it, but I don't understand the need for external validation.
I mean, but I think it goes back to like, there's an innate instinct for guys to be liked by other guys, right? Or have the approval of other guys, right? You want to be seen as the man's man, dude. I mean, I think that's innate in every dude.
The way I think about it though is if I'm doing what a man's man should be doing, they're going to see it regardless.
I get you, but I'm saying that there's still that exists.
Yeah, there is. I don't disagree with that statement at all. Like I get that.
Yeah. Now, but that goes too far, is what we're saying.
Yes.
There's only so far external validation gets you. I mean, that truly is. Now here's the thing. It doesn't happen like we talked about instantly. It happens over time. Like it could start with like some friendships or like you have a girlfriend or something. You start listening to more the wrong media.
Yeah.
You have a career change or actually get a new job at a new company who's way more different. And all of a sudden you've gradually made the bargain over time.
Yeah, you've assimilated without realizing it.
Yes. And that's the most common thing I've seen a few times is like there's personally seen this, like it's just you see a dude who's kind of one way, and then it takes a few years, but all of a sudden you're like, man, that's not how I remember, Bobby Smith or something,
that's not who I used to be.
No, and I think this harkens back to our institutional capture episode, right?
Yes,
because the same system that was filtering dissent and trying to get conviction out of the way is attacking at an individual level.
Yeah,
it's the same principality.
Yeah, it's the same thing, eroding just from a different angle.
Yeah, I mean the system itself just doesn't really need to do too much, because it's really putting men to archetype themselves.
Yeah. And the thing is you can't really blame the system, because the system gets corrupted by the corrupted individual.
Well, we're saying the system is set up by that.
Yeah,
though.
the system now is set up by that. So, what would you say, Reggie, is a key component to keeping you awareness about the dangers of conformity inside of being a masculine man? Because I think a lot of times, a lot of men just let their guard down. Like they don't necessarily acquiesce. They just stop being, they don't have, I think they call it in the military situational readiness.
Because, I'll tell you where this ends up for me is, what's your foundation?
Yeah.
How are you grounded?
Yeah.
Right? Because if you're grounded by other people, media, I don't know, things like that, that will erode, and you will not, that's not a firm foundation to base anything on.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. And so I'd say that the biggest thing for me to not, and what I haven't, I guess that's where I've always been a man of principles, now they did evolve, I would say, from, back in my 20s to now. And I would even say, they've grown stronger.
Yeah.
In that aspect. But that's where I'm at. Like my principles will not be eroded. Like I'll stand on those. Like, it's one of those, like I will take that to, even if I have to be martyred for it. I mean, that's what'll happen. We'll not give up those.
Yeah.
Right. And it's standing firm, 1 Corinthians, we're standing firm in faith, as men.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that's, if you don't ground it there, then you're easily manipulated, easily assimilated into a culture and a system that is built to
emasculate and diminish your position.
Yeah, that is for the benefit of the collectivist Marxist ideology. That's where it's at, right? But yeah, so I mean, what are here's some costs, I think, for this, right? You have your calling could be hijacked.
Yep.
So, and this is kind of back to the suicidal empathy thing.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, like if you give up what you're supposed to do or what you're called to be, then you are pretty much ending your true self.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
There's one thing. Now, I think you pointed out when we were talking, I think, this whole idea of, if you're an agreeable guy though, and you're in this now community of people who are validating you and everything else, is it your voice that is being heard, or is it the collective's voice that gets drowned out? Well,
you've traded conviction for acceptance. So there's no moral courage at all in that, right? I don't, when everything becomes moral, nothing is moral. Does that make sense? And most of the time when you find these men that have given up their voice, you hear this, well, they're not hurting anybody, so just let them live. That's where that stupid line comes in. Let them live their truth. No, there's only one truth. Gray areas made by people who just want to play in the gray area.
Yeah, it's ones and zeros, bro. It's a binary system.
Yeah, and then here on top of that, I think your family. If you can't hold your convictions, what are your children going to become?
Yeah,
like what world are you sending your children into when you teach them to stand for nothing and to fall for everything? Right. And then I hear a lot of these times, well, oh, my child's having so much trouble and I don't understand why. I was always so understanding and I gave them the ability to do as they chose. I was like, yeah, that was a dumb move. Kids need structure. Kids need direction. Kids need a parent that can input and help them make good decisions.
Right.
And you give that up. I mean, that's one of the trade-offs,
But but at the ultimate goal, the ultimate thing for me is that your soul.
Yeah.
Like you really you're just a soulless creature that is just out for approval rather than a purpose.
Yeah. Why would you want to live? And I think that's part of the reason why, at the age I'm at now, at 50 years old, I'm looking at the world in a wholly different way. And that is, I've got to fulfill my purpose. God granted me a purpose. He gave me the gift of purpose. So I have to fulfill that purpose now. How I do that, I'm still discovering. We discover every day a new part of our purpose. But when you don't have a purpose and you wander aimlessly, you usually wind up in a dangerous place you don't belong.
Yeah, I will say I'm very fond of the verse that says, we are not of this world, we are in this world.
Yeah.
Right. And in Romans 12, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind. The renewal of your mind it's talking about there is not by other people or validation or just because you're agreeable. That's the renewal of your mind from the gospel.
Yes. From his word.
Right?
Right.
So, all right. But here's the thing. So we know we've talked about how these alpha, beta, omega,
sigma, chi, latte
are BS. Without using a Greek alphabet, Brian, we really need to say what it means, and we've said this before. This is a rehash of our biblical masculinity episode that we gave 2 years ago, I think.
Yeah.
So what are some attributes of an actual biblical archetype man?
Servant leadership. One of the things I truly believe that as men of God, we're built to serve.
Yeah, there's a reason why he said you will now work in the garden. I mean, dude, we are now meant to work.
Yeah, we're meant to work sacrificially for our families, for our communities. We're meant to use our leadership roles to bolster and help develop others, not to wield power over them. Right? Like that to me is, that's why I have such a huge issue with prosperity gospel and things like that, because prosperity gospel is a methodology for wielding power.
Yeah.
I don't think that that's proper at all. Courage, moral and spiritual fortitude, standing firm, even when it costs something. I have lost relationships because of my faith, because of my family, and I'm okay with that because I'm not going to give up being the leader in my home and loving my family like God calls me to do because you don't like what I'm doing. You can just get on down the road. It doesn't really matter. Another would be self-control, mastery of your selfish needs and your appetites and mastering them in a manner which you take that energy that which you would pour into those things and sacrifice them for the people that need the sacrifice, right? Another, and this goes against everything that the old alpha male is about there, humility.
Yeah, and especially meekness.
Yeah.
I think meekness is such a concept that is like twisted. It doesn't mean weak. It's not weak. It's meek with an M.
Yeah.
That is different.
Yes.
I am capable of violence. I choose not to.
Yeah. Yeah. A man that is not capable of violence is useless.
I'm a big Jordan Peterson nailed this one when he said, the dangerous man is the one who is not capable.
Yeah.
The one, there's no good action by not committing a crime if you're not able to do it. There's nothing virtuous about that.
Yeah, there's no virtue in a weak man.
There's a lot, but virtue comes from the man who is capable of doing monstrous things and chooses not to be a monster.
Knows how to control it and especially when to use it.
Yes.
Right?
So we could look, wisdom is the application of knowledge.
Yep.
It's in that comes from experience and everything else that's using it. I would say even discernment here is an attribute that is sorely missing in today's climate. Definitely integrity, like your word means something. There's you're not like that two-faced guy. I cannot stand those people. That drives me insane. The loyalty, right? And I mean, you're loyal to not just your brothers or your family, but you're just to your fellow man. You're a loyal dude, And I mean, this even goes back to like the episode we talked about in Arc Raiders, how frustrating that is, because if you're playing even a virtual game that doesn't mean anything, and you see these principles that you live by being just
slaughtered,
it's like it disturbs. It's disturbing, I should say.
Yeah,
right.
Agreed.
The other day it was just another example of that. I was playing my game with my fellas and everything, and it's like you're just out of the blue, somebody just
snipes you.
Well, not that. Like you kind of understand that, like but if you're like being all friendly and everything, and then you just decide I'm just gonna
bomb you.
Yeah. It's just crazy. So I will say that I do tend to say that it's better for the man to have the sense of provision and protection. I know that in today's world, there's a lot of women make a lot more money than the men do.
Yeah.
And it's not really about that.
Well, here's what I would tell you, and I'm speaking to women at this point. If provision to a woman is a paycheck and wealth, then you don't know actually what provision is. The provision is spiritual leadership, emotional leadership, family leadership. That's provision, right? That a man provides those things. Money is the lowest on that ladder, in my opinion.
I would agree with you. And I will say, though, that speaking to money specifically, just because the income into your family comes from not you, but your spouse, does not mean you don't have a part in it.
Yeah, that's
right. This gets so messed up when you talk about a marriage that is secular versus one that's built on Christian principles, right? Yeah. Because we're in the Christian world, we're one flesh.
Yeah.
There's no bigger definition of a partner or better one than being one entity that is two people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So like even in like where my wife doesn't work necessarily at a job, that doesn't mean that she's not working.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that my income is solely my income and that I'm fulfilling that just by that. No, my wife has probably a bigger part in how I make money.
Yeah.
As I do, because she's allowing it and making it possible.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it's the other way around too. Like, you know, because here's what I look at. I know several people where the wife actually she's the breadwinner of the family, right? But let's say that stops, right? And she, for some reason, she loses her job. She can't find another one. Guess whose responsibility it is at that point to make sure your family's fed?
That's right. That's right.
That's all I'm saying. And now that could be the wife goes out and gets another job, but it still falls on you to figure that out.
Yeah.
And to make it happen in some way.
Yeah.
Right. That's where it comes into being the family, the head of the family, the leadership of the family, and taking that responsibility. Because when you die as a man, God is going to hold you accountable for your family. He doesn't hold your wife accountable.
No,
not to the extent, I should say, but you know, there is that. That's what God says. So anyway, so that's our rough. And if you want more about the biblical masculine view of things, I have probably several episodes about what that means and who that is. Yeah. But you know, I guess the point I want to make is that none of that is a Greek letter.
Yeah. None of that. None of that is zeta, eta, theta.
Yeah. I mean, God is the Alpha and Omega. That's it.
Those are the only Greek letters you need to worry about.
You know,
but I would also, an encouragement would be for all you men out there that are kind of on the fence and kind of feel listless, stop for a second and realize that if you stand for nothing, you will fall for everything. If you stand for nothing, you will fall for everything. And that is where a lot of these quote unquote beta and sigma and alpha males are right now, is they're standing for the wrong thing and falling for everything.
Suicidal empathy.
Yeah, bruh.
That's what I mean. Gad said that's so spot on, bro.
Yeah,
when I read about it and everything else, it was just like, dude.
When I started researching suicidal empathy, it changed my views on a lot of things in a lot of ways, as far as just how it just hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
Know?
I mean, it just, so let me kind of try to wrap this up a little bit. The whole idea here is that scripture and the gospel doesn't say, here's these tiers of man.
Yeah.
It doesn't do that. It actually calls us to have a unified standard of what a man is, and that we live out that calling of a man in different ways. But it all comes back to, we're still image bearers of God.
Cultural hierarchies. I'm not saying the hierarchies of God. I'm saying cultural hierarchies are man-made. Therefore, they are completely fallible.
Right. There's one category.
Yeah.
Man of God.
Man of God.
Man of God. Paul said there's righteousness, godliness, faith, love, steadfastness, gentleness. That's what he gave attributes to men of God. And gentleness should not be construed there as
weakness,
agreeable,
yeah,
or weak, or whatever. There's a whole thing there. So be a man of God. Don't be a beta. Don't be a sigma.
Nail head. This is R&B Talks.
I'm Reggie.
And I'm Brian. See you guys.
Bye-bye.